Hi everyone, welcome back again to Spiritual Growth Tarot. I'm Denise, and today I'm going to dive into an astrological reading for Joe Biden. I've touched on it a few times in other videos just towards the end, but I've never really gone into it like I do, for a private reading, where I look for the divine rays and I look for possibilities as to higher self-intention, for this lifetime, because I always look at the astrological chart as being a birth map, as a place like where we left off in our personal evolution and in our intention to to grow and to develop, of course, which I guess is probably the same way of saying the same thing, or different way of saying the same thing. So anyway, I'm going to look at that, and I'm also going to look at his transits coming up for the next, well, some of them will be very long term, and then some of them will be a year or two. So, but I'm going to do my best to get through, do his transits like through 2024, and probably have some key dates in there if they show up easily without me having to do a lot of math. Of course, I could just go to this new program I got on my computer, but I haven't figured out how to use it completely yet. So anyway, bear with me. I'm going to drop the camera down and let's look at his chart. Okay, so first off, I just want to say, if any other astrologer watches this video that wants to comment and add in things that I may leave out or miss, I so appreciate that. I welcome you all. And if anybody else wants to add in, your comments about anything you know about Joe Biden that I may not, I may not know, I did scan over his Wikipedia page and notice there are new updates to it all the time. Which, that's one of the things with Wikipedia, is that anybody can edit it. But it did look pretty good. It did look really good. And so I kind of want to direct everybody to go look at that, and because I learned some things about him that I didn't realize. That they were all, they were good things. But I didn't realize that he had a brain aneurysm at one point in his life, and then I think another embolism. Now, those things can happen, I think, from too much flying, too much air travel, if you're predisposed at all. But it also made me wonder if, maybe that was the reason that he had the stuttering issue when he was younger, when he was a child and growing up. He seems to be doing fine with it now. So, but anyway, just to have that blanket statement in there, you guys feel free to jump in and add anything that you want. I welcome it all, as long as it's kind and constructive. But anyway, let me dive into just what I see right off the bat. In numerology, he's a number 2, so that has to do with joining forces. It has to do with bringing people together. The 2s are really good at relationship. There's the wanting, for unity there. And it's also, if you look at in the tarot, it's the High Priestess card, and in the Major Arcana, it's a High Priestess card, which has to do with being connected to your inner voice, and sometimes being more quiet than. Although he doesn't seem to have any, qualms about talking a lot nowadays. But maybe when he was younger, he was more quiet and more inwardly focused, more introverted, I wonder. And especially that's true with his sun in Scorpio and his conjunct Venus. So the ruler of his chart is Jupiter, because Jupiter rules Sag. Jupiter's up here in the 8th house of other people's resources, of deep psychology, of psychic, intuitive, and with Pluto there, I would say he is definitely a psychic and intuitive being. So let me go over his divine rays quickly. So some of them that I noticed, and of course I'm going to miss things, and please don't take this as being the end all because I'm just going, I'm going to try and keep this as short as I can, and I'm just going with what I notice that jumps right out at me. But anyway, the thing that I noticed with the Sag ascendant here is that it feels to me like he wants to get to the truth, and he likes getting to the truth. And then because of this stellium here in Scorpio, he really likes digging deep to get to the truth. So we're talking transformation, we're talking divine rays of truth and communication over here as well with the Gemini aspects here. There's also commitment. Scorpios are often very committed, committed to their goals and committed to other people, and especially with him, he's been committed for a long time to. I think he was one of the youngest senators. I think, if I remember, if I read that correctly, I think his first. He was reelected as senator 6 times, and I think his first one, he was 29 years old, if I remember right. So that's, yeah. So anyway, to get back to some of the divine rays, what I can see here, just up here with this Leo energy is this generosity and love and creative self-expression. But I also see some wounding here with Chiron in Leo. This would be that, in the 9th house, like wanting to be on a path where you can express yourself and needing to find, with Virgo there in the North Node, Chiron conjunct the North Node is usually an aspect of people who facilitate the healing process. Or it can be the opposite until they heal, and if it's your life path, but definitely was not his, it can be someone who just goes out and wounds others. That's not him. That's not him at all. He has this opposite, this polarity in Virgo and Pisces, which is often a very painful path. And, we know that he did lose, his first wife was in an awful accident, got hit by a semi-truck trailer situation, semi-truck, and killed her and their daughter, and severely injured both of his little boys too. One little boy broke his leg, and he's lost a daughter, and he lost Beau Biden to brain cancer in 2015. So he's gone through pain. This is often the house of grief up here in the 8th. And with family, Jupiter can be, usually Jupiter can be, expansion and healing, but it can sometimes bring in pain. And that absolutely happened to him. Of course, we know that. So, but anyway, back to the North Node in Virgo. He's good at tracking. He's good at distinctions. He's good at making distinctions and then adjusting. He's good at looking at the details of things, and that in combination, even though we've got a square over here to, these planets in Scorpio, which can be a challenge, I think that what the wounding is, part of it when he was younger was the stuttering, of course, hard time communicating, expressing himself, especially when he's kind of going towards all the details, and maybe it's hard to find the right words to slow down and, get one word at a time out. I mean, I know that one. I messed up all the time, combining words, making up words that aren't real, 2 words together at once. So in his situation, though, I see him as being, he's been on this path. Oftentimes the 9th house is your path. And because it's what you believe in. So he believes in love. He believes in self-expression. He believes in everyone's creative self-expression. He believes in what one of my dearest YouTube friends, I just love her dearly. Her name's Daniette. She told me once, the all is in the small. And that's what I see here with this Virgo Pisces polarity. And so his North Node in Virgo for holding on, he comes from this place of surrender, which is one of his divine rays. And then, but then, okay, now that I've surrendered, here's the way to go, and the details will come. But I can't imagine what it took him to get through that, growing up and becoming, being in his leadership, as he has done, very well. So, but this square here brings in the challenge. That was a great challenge. But the cool thing about squares is, and he's got a lot, is that once you've gone through the challenges, it turns into a strength. So now we can say that he has that strength to go deep, to transform, to commit to getting to the truth. And this trine over here to Jupiter, where he's really devoted to going deep and getting to the truth. And he's devoted to supporting other people's resources, and then bringing in this, if you can see this in conjunct here, these two green lines here, and then this sextile down here. We're talking Neptune up in the 10th house of career, and this is why he has had a hard time being seen correctly for who he truly is, because Neptune can be the projection of mass consciousness onto you, and people may not see that he's actually very deeply balanced inside, and he's connected to source when he's in his authority, and he can stand up for who he is and be in his own unique, integrity, his own unique authority in his integrity. He's very balanced, very loving. He's a bridge. He's a bridge to peace. He receives source energy from within and from without everywhere, because the universe is inside of all of us. And he's able to open up to what brings peace. Now, I know, of course, it was very challenging in the way he got us out of Afghanistan, and I don't know if anybody else could have done it any better. And I know his numbers have fallen. The polling shows that his numbers are down since his, withdrawal from Afghanistan. But, I've never seen anybody else do it, right? Everybody else talked about it. Even Obama talked about it, and Trump talked about it. All these other countries didn't do it. So, they did eventually get out, but I don't know that their withdrawal went any better for them, right? Because many other countries have tried this. But anyway, back to this finger of fate here. This aspect right here is the finger of fate, finger of God, whatever you want to call it. So his challenge, the inconjuncts can bring in that energy of not really seeing everything that's it's not in your view. You can't see it peripherally. It's back here. Well, that's his south node is a past life point, and in the house of communication and networking and building community, which is another one of his divine rays, or three other divine rays, I would say, with this right here. Oh my goodness. Service and relationship, enlightenment, bringing in enlightened ways of communicating that might come through kind of quickly for him. But basically, communication, networking, and community building is what I see here with this Gemini connection. And this is, this is a conjunction here because we're only 7 degrees apart. It's not a real tight orb, but it's good enough. And that's especially true when you look at Mercury over here. And this is all in the 12th. I look at it, the 12th house, I see it as a house of vocation. Once you have all your ducks in a row, once you've gone through a certain amount of healing and growth, it becomes a strength. if you're using the energy correctly. And I see that he does, because this is like, unity. Sun conjunct Venus is about unity, and the unity to transform, to heal. And then Mercury, because it rules Gemini and Virgo, is over here in this place of being in a more of a spiritually enlightened state of being, even though, I know he's deeply religious and in his, Catholic faith or religion, but I'm not going to hold anybody's religion against them if they're not using it in a way that hurts others, and he does not. He does not try to hurt others with his beliefs. And you can see this up here, like maybe in a past life he was hurt for his religious beliefs, or maybe he was, with the ninth house, it can be belief systems that can be really challenging, and you're trying to find your way. But you come back to this place of, with this south node here, he comes back to this place of, well, I'll just surrender and forgive and try to move on. And so this networking, communication, it's here, sourced in the divine, and then it's here as well, right? And then Neptune rules Pisces, so we've got a nice commonality here. And then with this in conjunct down here, to have the moon sextile the south node shows that he's deeply caring in very practical ways, Taurus practical, but also probably has been a really good dad and grandpa, and I get to just imagine that he deeply cares. And this in conjunct up here to Neptune, it's just, this amazing like source energy in peace and balance and harmony, and then the practical ways of caring and what he values. And so I really feel like when, as long as he's not stressed out, and as long as he's rested and has good self-care, I really feel like he's probably an excellent listener and good at communicating in the right way as well. But what I see with this aspect up here is peacemaker. That's what I get for his major divine ray, is peacemaker. But man, it's probably taken him it has taken him his whole lifetime to get here. He is our first oldest president, and he's also, the first man to have a female black vice president, right? So, or woman of color, I should say, with Kamala. Kamala Mamala. So, okay, so I see love, generosity, self-expression, creative self-expression as a divine ray. We've got the surrender here. We have the surrender to source energy here. Like I said, community, networking, community building, communication. We have that here. Deeply devoted to family and, digging deep in transformation, all of that, like I said, getting to the truth. So I feel like his higher self-intention is within all those divine rays. Definitely the traumas here, and especially because it squares over here to Uranus, that brings in that element of, oh my goodness, I can't say what I'm trying to say, and it can be kind of shocking. So I wonder if something happened to him when he was little, and maybe even something with his father. I'm not sure. Or maybe it was just, Uranus can be an accident, and it could have been an accident where he hit his head and it triggered something in his brain to where he couldn't get the words out, and then healing that later on. Probably worked well with a speech therapist or something. We've got blessings here in the speech therapy. But Pluto in the 8th can definitely be a painful aspect. This north and south node with a Pisces Virgo polarity, it can be painful. Chiron on the North Node or the South Node or anywhere close to the Sun, and we've got it in aspect to his Sun here, and the aspect to here and here. Yeah. So I think he's gone through a lot of pain in his life. And yeah, I do. Now with this Saturn and Uranus here trine, Saturn trine Pallas and Vesta in Aquarius, this tells me that he has a real nice, easy way of creating. He's got this like inner genius aspect of creating things that protect. So I feel like protective love is another one of his divine rays. And then with the asteroid Juno here in the first house, that brings in that element of only wanting to be in relationships that are truthful. And, you know, you can see he's only been married twice, and the first time he only ended the marriage because she died, right? I mean, and that's just, he's been a committed family man, grandpa, husband. You know, that you can see that here. And his Mars in Scorpio, it's not really a tight opposition here. I mean, 6 degrees apart, and this is his part of fortune. So the more practical and loving, and the more he sinks into his being, and goes slow in life, the better it'll be for him. The more he holds on to his values, what he values in the areas of the heart and emotional body, the better he'll do. And so it's like this divinely placed Mars on the other side of it, so that he'll always have the energy to go deep down inside to figure out what it is that he really wants. Even though we've got a 12-degree difference in orb here, but you kind of, this is a strong aspect, or at least it's one of the things that I see as strong. Now, other hot points in his chart are these 4 points here. So the ascendant magnetizes. So he would always magnetize. This is also the Sag ascendant rules politics, of course, as well as the 9th house. So, working his way through his political career has definitely, that definitely was his higher self-intention, was to somehow work within the political arena. And then with his North Node in Virgo, that's about, the details, getting the details together to go the right direction. Making the adjustments to stay on his path. These 6 houses up here are the houses where we're more open and seen to the public, except 12, maybe not as much. But then again, for sure the 10th house is where we're seen publicly, and the midheaven, absolutely. And of course with the 9th, yeah. Now, when it comes to his descendant over here, this is where I kept feeling into this like networking and community building and communication, even though it's been challenging for him. I think he's good there now. So this polarity of communication to get to the truth and back and forth, right? And even with Venus here opposing Uranus, and then kind of a tight, well, not a tight orb, but still there's this connection with Saturn. This can be like breaking through this old past limiting conditioned way of growing up, and breaking through into new territory, especially with communication and that, like I was saying, the networking within the public. He loves that. Whether or not he'll ever say it and we'll ever know it, I can see by his chart, I would say, dude, I know you love it. You love working with other people. I could just see it right here. And he was, he's built for it. This is who he truly is with this trine up here to Jupiter. It's all about nurturing and taking care of what's best for the greater good, the greater good of the whole. So I feel like he's one of those beautiful beings of being in the heart of hearts, when he's in who he is, and we can see that he's had to work really hard to get to this place where he can semi-comfortably function as president, even though he's taken a lot of flack, right? He really is. So now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of let go, even though there's probably a lot more here we could dive into, and I welcome, any comments about that. But now let's look at his transits. So this is, as of today, September 22nd, 2021. These are his transits. So we do have a bit of a challenge here with transiting Saturn that squares his natal moon. And I definitely want to speak to the second house, because Taurus rules the second house, and his moon is in Taurus. And transiting Pluto and Saturn are, Pluto's there to stay for years. Saturn will move into his third in a little bit, or not too soon, but next year probably. It's retrograde. All these planets, all the outer planets are retrograde right now, and you can see that by the red. Anything that's indicated here in red, that means it's retrograde currently. And Mercury's about to retrograde pretty soon, but it'll stay in Libra. Let's see. I don't think it'll go all the way back. No, it won't. It won't. Yeah, once it retrogrades back, it's just gonna. Well, it's gonna retrograde back into his 10th house. That's for sure. But anyway, let's get back to. I'm sorry. This Saturn square moon right here. This is a square from Saturn in the second to his moon in the fifth. So that brings in this place where it feels to me like he's holding on to what he, what brings value, what he deems as most important. He's holding that. And with Pluto sitting there and having been, when he was elected, Pluto was in his second. When he was running, Pluto was in his second. It's been there for years. And so he's come in to hold. I looked to the second house of safety. I looked at the second house as being primarily safety. So he's the placeholder. He's the person in power. And he's the guy that is mastering what is safe for humanity best he can. Aquarius, humanity, altruism, seeing the bigger picture. Now, I don't see that in all Aquarians, but, it's generally a good sign to be. With Pluto here, there is, of course, this opposition to his natal Jupiter in the 8th house of power. And once it goes direct, it'll go out of orb eventually, but it's challenging. And you can see, because Pluto has an elliptical orbit to it, usually Pluto doesn't make it halfway around the chart in one lifetime, because it takes about 243 to 248 years to get around the chart. So you'd have to live to be well over 100 to make it, to that opposition. Well, we'll see. He just might, because obviously, it hasn't taken so long to get through all these charts, or all through these houses in his natal chart. But it has transited through. He came in to deal with issues of power and other people's resources and family. Probably it would have to be family resources, and and then, of course, his belief system, and then his career path, and then his humanitarian tendencies, and his altruistic tendencies, and his goals, friendships, groups, all of that. And he made it through Pluto in the 12th, which can be really challenging, but can also be very healing on the deepest levels. And then Pluto in the 1st, where you literally reinvent yourself. And now he's in this place of Pluto in the 2nd, where it's all about being who you truly are. It's all about looking for what is the safest way to go, what brings the most value into life, what you really want to experience. So he's literally holding, this place of, I think he's valuing transparency versus corruption. I think he's valuing integrity versus corruption. I mean, look, the alternative was, between he and Trump is just like night and day. So, and if he hadn't have gotten in, I don't know where we would be as far as climate change. Right? And that affects everyone. That affects all of humanity. So with Uranus over here transiting in Taurus, he's already had Uranus cross over his moon, which can be, that can be a challenging transit too. So, but if I go through the whole chart and look at all the things that he's gone through, we'll be here forever. I don't know, forever, but for hours I'm going to do that. So but I did want to address Pluto because, Uranus takes 84 years to get around, so we can all have a Uranus return if we live to be, 84, and it can be very enlightening and just excellent, unless you're not headed in that direction in your life. Neptune takes 164 years to get around, so, we don't need to talk about that too much, although transiting Neptune is down here at his IC. And that's also an important, that's what I forgot to, when his natal chart, I forgot to say, the IC is a past life point, at least the way I read it. So in Pisces, we're dealing with, surrendering to the divine, we're dealing with pure potentiality, we're dealing with healing, victimization type of issues. And then his descendant up here in Gemini, of course, that is all about communication in Gemini there. So anyway, back to transiting. Well, let's see. Saturn's here in the 2nd, so he's holding on. He's holding on in the face of people's criticisms, the way they think he should do it. All these comments from the peanut gallery type of thing. It's like he needs our support. I don't know that he needs the criticism so much, but I'm sure that I think he's a pretty good listener, and he has absolutely surrounded him in a extremely competent, with an extremely competent team. So he knows how to delegate. So anyway, he's holding on to what he values most, which is the safety of America, which is why he, he was able to get through the very first thing he did as an executive order, I think, was can't remember the name of the actual, what it was, but it's basically the COVID relief bill. They got that through right away so that people could have support for, getting through this awful pandemic. And of course, nothing's perfect because, that's the way it goes. It's like, the corruption can always come through somewhere, right? I remember there's a couple $100 billion that was stolen from, but I think that was more the PPP, personal paycheck protection program, things like that, or paycheck protection program. I think it was mostly stolen through unemployment. And that's on the state level. That's not federal. It was a federal act to get it through, but then things can be stolen from the states individually if they do not have their computer systems upgraded the way they should. Ugh, it's like secure socket layering is a good thing to have, right? Encryption is a good thing to have, but no, some of these states they're back in the like Windows 7 or something. I don't know where they are. Anyway, so back to Joe. He's holding on. He's holding on to power. There's deep transformation going through him on the level of being and his own personal safety. He's doing his best to master, some type of creativity to come through to support, what needs to be done for humanity. I'll just go ahead and go this way, and no specific order other than I'm going by the houses. Oh wait, but I do need to speak to this. With now the other transits, they go this way, counterclockwise, but the nodes, they go backwards in time. So this south node, which is where we need to sit and be from the past, which in Sag is to be in the truth. The north node would be speaking the truth once you have it, gathering facts and speaking the truth. This is that polarity that humanity's in right now. And what are we up against? Just complete disinformation, all this ridiculous like alternative facts. Remember Kellyanne Conway and all that? I mean, alternative facts, that's a lie, right? Oh my God. Anyway, so the the transiting nodes are right. This is on his ascendant, so he's attracting this need to speak the truth, get the truth, gather the truth, and disseminate the truth. And I think he's doing pretty good at that. So, but I just had to, and it's going to move when it starts going this way. It's going to go towards, the nodes are going to go through his 12th, 11th, 10th. But it's going to bring in the past, and he's going to be, I think, doing his best to handle that. It's not going to be an inward journey for him. It's going to be an outward when it comes to putting the truth out there. Okay, so second house we're dealing with. Oh, and then he's got Juno, the relationship asteroid. He's already gone through a conjunction where it returned, like a Juno return. So again, he has aligned himself with relationships professionally, and I think personally too, where they want to go for the truth and they want to speak the truth, and in the political arena as well, of course, because that's what he does. So I've spoken enough to this here with Pluto. Let's see what aspects. I'm looking for the degrees here. With Pluto, we have a sextile to Mercury going on up here. See 24, 21 degrees here. That's excellent. So he's doing really well. Mercury's the messenger. And when it comes through the 12th house, it's like higher self-guidance, dreamtime guidance, guidance from your guides, your guardian angels coming through. And then he takes it in and is able to powerfully, either hold a position or move a position. But again, it's all back to safety. And we're all going through Uranus and Taurus, which is all about safety, waking up to what is safe. And here we are in this pandemic, in this place of is it safe to connect? No, we have to have a mask. People need to be vaccinated. I mean, we're going through a shakeup here, right? And because it has squared transiting Saturn, there's been, that whole... but we're coming out of orb with that. It's not as bad. Well, it's retrograded. It's going to have its last hit when Saturn goes direct. Yeah, I think. Or maybe we already had it. I don't know. I'd have to look that up later. Again, if any other astrologers out there, let me know where I've messed up there, because I've kind of been out of the loop of looking at the retrogrades, because retrogradation with the transits, the outer planets, well, with all of them, it's a threefold process. I just can't remember if we're in the second or the third phase of this Saturn square Uranus, which, of course, it brings in mastery. Saturn square Uranus brings in mastery over things that we need to wake up to, mastery for humanity, and seeing the big picture as to things that we need to wake up to in order to be safe. And inventions for safety is one of the primary hallmarks of Uranus and Taurus. Uranus's inventions, and Taurus can be safety. So of course we invented all these. First thing was the masks, and of course the vaccines have happened, and all types of other safety equipment is being invented constantly. So anyway, back to, let's look at Jupiter here in his third house. He's expanding, and there's healing for humanity here. He's expanding people that he speaks to. This, I think, has a lot to do with foreign policy. It's going to cross over his natal south, or no, I'm sorry, it already did cross over his natal south node. So I think he probably had, a pretty good, oh no, what am I saying? No, it goes this way. Yeah. So, no, it doesn't work that way. Jupiter's in Aquarius now. It needs to get to 0 degrees Pisces before it hits his south node, which is, again, past life point. The well of, the way he operates, the stability internally that he has, it is surrender, but it's also seeing the big picture. It's also opening to all possibilities. Pisces can be great for looking at all possibilities. And remember, Pisces is ruled by Neptune, which is up here in his house of career. So looking for all possibilities in his leadership. And Jupiter it's retrograded here, but once it starts going direct, and then it needs to come back this way or cross over this 0 degrees Pisces point, there will be an expansion of his well of wisdom, an expansion into who he truly is. This will be a really good transit for him when it happens. And I know I said I would get some key dates, but I didn't. We'll just have to keep an eye on when Jupiter gets to 0 degrees Pisces. But Jupiter only stays in one sign for a year, so it's going to be soon. It's going to probably be in the next 6 or 8 months, I feel, in here. I could be wrong. That's another thing to look up, and we can keep track of that. But anyway, as Jupiter is moving forward this way, so he's expanding his ability to communicate, and I think back to like the world leaders, foreign relations. He's always been pretty good at that, right? I wish he'd get a little tougher with the little guy over in Russia, though. I wish there were some stronger sanctions, but then again, maybe he's thinking of the big picture and he doesn't want to hurt the Russian people, because to really sanction down their gas production, things like that, or gas sales. What is it called? Gazprom, I think, is the name of their. There was like Rosneft and then Gazprom, but anyway, maybe Joe doesn't want to hurt the Russian people that way, and it's more about how do we just take out the little guy someday. I don't think he's a taker-outer kind of a person, but I'm just talking off of the top of my ego brain, where I shouldn't say things like that. we don't need to take anybody out. But then again, Joe, what's his name? Vlad is definitely a threat to peaceful society. He really is a threat. So anyway, I'll move on from that. So Jupiter's going to stay in his third house, for sure, until through the end of 2021 and into 2022. Neptune is going to stay here in his fourth house of home, his family foundation, his emotional foundation, and it brings in that aspect of like dissolving the past, that anything that may need to be dissolved. The moon moves too quickly. I'm not going to address that. And Chiron is working its way through Aries. It's Chiron transiting through his fourth house is almost done. I don't really feel like speaking to that because it's, well, on an emotional level, this would be, hey, what about me? You know, I'm always having to think for everyone else, and you might feel like left out. You may feel like, just like I said, what about me kind of a thing. But Neptune here, having transited and is still conjunct with his natal Ceres, that can bring in maybe feeling more spiritually connected to his mother, maybe feeling a deep spiritual connection when he sits down and has a meal, maybe feeling there could be dissolving any issues with growing up. I don't see that he has any food issues. He tends to stay the same weight, and I think he exercises. But anyway, let me see if there's any. I need to look at Jupiter too, as far as any challenging transits or squares. I mean, of course, when something's down here at your IC, it is it's opposing the midheaven. So that's actually probably pretty good concerning, I mean, especially to have, there's not an opposition here yet, but to have Neptune down here at the base, knowing him, or not really knowing him, but feeling into what I think about him, what I think I know of him, it has to do with his spiritual life. Like his source energy is felt more on an emotional level. And this brings in this, I've always seen him as the King of Cups when I do tarot readings for him. And many other readers do too. I'm not unique in that at all. That's because of his Scorpio, all this Scorpio energy here, and his Jupiter in Cancer. But anyway, when we started reading on him, we were all getting that same King of Cups card. It's like, oh yeah, makes sense. But yeah, any sun sign and water would bring in that card. But anyhow, or sun or moon. But anyway, back to this Neptune down here in the fourth. This is, the house of emotional intelligence once everything is healed. It's a very psychic house. And remember, look what he doesn't have any personal planets here. He just has Ceres. But he has, these are the three water houses. The fourth, well here, this would be an easier way to show you. The fourth, the 8th, and the 12th. And so out of the 10 planets, he has 5. He has half of the planets and 3 of the personal planets in the water houses. So he's a deeply spiritual and psychic being. Now, his Mars being in the 11th house of goals and groups and, being able to network and see the big picture, it's right here on the cusp of the 12th too. So we could kind of say, because of course, all these planets progress, and I didn't run his progress chart because I was afraid this would just get way too long. But when you're doing, personal readings with transits, you want to do, besides the transits, you want to do a progress chart, and you want to do the progressions in the natal chart, and you also want to do solar return. So maybe I'll do that when he's closer to his birthday coming up next month, or I'm sorry, in November. This month's just about gone, but November will be here soon. Just, you guys might have to remind me. his solar return for the year would show, his experience for the year. So, but anyway, let's see. With Jupiter and Neptune, I'm looking to see. I feel like this is a good transit for him to have. I think this will be very healing for him. And maybe he'll be seen and appreciated for who he truly is. Even because when Neptune finally gets over here in opposition, it can bring a breakthrough. Oppositions can bring breakthroughs. So yeah, I hope that that's what he has. But right now, transiting Neptune is trining his sun up here. You can see 21 to 27. And the more it transits, after it stops retrograding, the more it transits this way, the tighter the orb will get. That will be very helpful for him. I think he's going to be even more intuitive. And I think he'll dive in even deeper to get us where we probably need to be going. I think he'll be doubling down on climate change and COVID restrictions, if need be. That federal mandate was an excellent thing to do. For federal employees. Let's see, so what else? With Neptune here, it's also trining his Mars, but again, it's a wide orb. Neptune trine Mars is really cool, actually, for wow. Or not Mars, I'm sorry, Mercury. Yeah, 2120. Oh, now it's okay. So this will be later. Neptune Mars will be good later too. But Neptune trine Mars will bring in that movement and action towards all things spiritual and healing. Mercury right now trine Mars is that communication. He's probably getting some really good dream time guidance. And I don't know if he meditates, even if it were just 5 minutes a day, it'd be great, because this is an excellent transit for getting messages from the divine right here, this trine. And it's right in orb. It's an exact 33, even down to the minute. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So let's see, with Jupiter, he has Jupiter squaring his sun right now. So, yeah, and then once it goes direct, it's going to happen again. So this is going to be going on for quite some time, where he might not have the same physical energy he would like. It's... And this would be the aspect that shows his, his numbers going down, his polling numbers that have gone down, because, again, he's not being seen for who he truly is from the outer world, right? That's, yeah. But that will shift eventually, because Jupiter doesn't move that slowly. But, Pluto and Neptune, those two planets are very slow moving, but these are pretty good aspects here. Okay, so let's see what else. Yeah, oh my goodness, and he also has wow, Neptune is trining his natal Jupiter up here. Look at this, 25, 21. Yeah, that's excellent. So again, another good aspect for psychic intuitive hits and abilities. As long as he holds fast to what's most important, which I think he's going to, these are really, really good transits. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so excellent. That I'm really happy to see that. Okay, let's see. So what else? Is there anything else here with Neptune? There's a semi-square to his natal Pluto, but I think he can handle that, because this is very helpful. He will be considering how much power he has and how much power other people have and what is the right way to go, what would be the best way to go for everyone involved, or the most important people involved, which to him will always be the USA. And we're talking, like power in production, things like that, because the 8th house can be very powerful when it comes to money, right? It's, it's a house of rebirth and reconstruction and, bringing in something new after sometimes, it's a Scorpio house. So it's sometimes like going deep and having, hitting bottom, but then rising through like the phoenix through the ashes. Rising up high. So anyway, that's not bad there. Okay. So what else? Let me see, is there anything else here before I move on from Neptune? Because these are long-term transits. So the things I'm telling you now, especially this aspect here, this Neptune trining Jupiter, bringing in this, ability to work with the divine for the greater good of the whole. This will last throughout his presidency, and I think if he gets reelected, it may still be in effect then too. Yeah, wow. Okay. Pluto's definitely going to be there for good amount of time. Yeah. Saturn, of course, will move into his 3rd, and, it'll be more with mastery and manifesting and maybe some limitations. He does have limitations into what he can actually manifest as to what he really values. But when it gets to the 3rd, there might be some limitations in networking and communication, and that can be challenging. But he'll figure out a way to master it, because at some point it'll cross over his South Node. Wow, that's probably in a good couple of years. That would be. Well, so Donald John Trump was elected when Saturn hit his South Node, or after the South Node. So maybe this would be a re-election if he even wants to run again. We don't know. The he's going to be 78, right? Yeah, this year he'll be 78. But, it's like, God, 70 is like the old 50 nowadays. It's like, 80 is like the old 60, is the new 60. It's crazy. Okay, so, let's see. Jupiter, do we have... Yeah, Jupiter is squaring his Mercury right now, so it's a little trouble with getting what he wants in the networking. Yeah, that's the problems with the Senate. What else? It's also, Jupiter square the Sun, same thing. Jupiter is squaring the stellium, basically. So this is where he's not really getting what he wants right now. But it will move forward at some point. So, this is not a long-term kind of a transit. We're talking, a year or so. Not even that. We're talking 6 months, and then maybe a year when it gets here, and that'll be helpful. Now, when we're talking a politician, the 4th house can be our homeland. So when Jupiter makes it to his 4th house, this would be him and his leadership over the homeland. So that's not bad. That will actually be pretty good. Again, I'm sorry, I don't have those exact dates. If I sit down and do all this, it's like hours. It's like what I do to prepare for a personal reading, and I just wasn't really willing to do it. So I shouldn't have spoke out and said I was going to look at and try and get some key dates. But I can always do it later and add it into the comments. And again, like I said, if any other astrologers are out there and you have those key dates, please drop it in. Do me a solid. I'll love you forever. So let's see. What else with Jupiter here? Yeah, there's this, it's opposing his natal Chiron. It's not a tight orb, but that'll happen. That can be very healing, and that can be a breakthrough for any old wounding, you know. Now, I see Chiron as being our deepest wounding and our greatest gifts. I see it as, you just have to get into the center of, instead of being on one side of the coin, you be in the center. And with him, it is this like late degree, nth degree of generosity and love and creative self-expression, especially in the political arena. So that's what we can hold for him in our hearts. Let's see, what else? Yeah, that's all I'm seeing that really matters with Jupiter right now. Yeah, okay, so with Neptune, let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. Nah, I've got the conjunct Ceres, did all that. Okay, so let's look at Uranus. So Uranus is here at 14 degrees, Taurus. It is opposing his natal Mars in Scorpio at 12 degrees. And then transiting Venus, I'm not going to go into Venus because it moves so quickly around. But to have Venus conjunct Mars, that is like a really healthy balance between the masculine and the feminine, and like literally like joining the two as one. And it can attract a lot of deep support. But Uranus over here could be what's causing the trouble with his pole numbers, and that can be kind of surprising to him. And because it's in his sixth house of service and health, there will be disruption. And Uranus stays in one house for 7 years. So it has just, it's moved in a little bit. His health seems to be fine and holding out. And, we know that presidents have ultimate access to Walter Reed Medical Center, which is one of the premier. So I'm not going to worry about him that way yet. But this is the disrupt in the service that he really wants to provide. The service in even day-to-day details that he would probably like to be much more balanced. And then when he's 84, he'll have his Uranus return, right? That's, we're talking 6 years from now. And when he has his Uranus return, it will be conjunct his ascendant. So that'll be, I think, very helpful for him in relationships. But let's see, let me look at any other aspects to Uranus transiting. It's squaring his natal Pallas and Vesta. So yeah, again, like I said before, he's not able to do exactly what he wants yet, but that will change as Uranus stops. He's not able to do everything he wants. Uranus will that as it transits forward, that will shift, and I think he's going to be more powerful than ever. He's going through some challenging transits. That's all. Let's see. Yeah. He's already gone through, Uranus has already crossed over as part of Fortune and Moon quite a while back. I think that's probably what really, that was helpful in his election process, in his ability to express himself as well. Yeah, I bet it was this transit here, Uranus crossing over his moon, helped open up some more of his intuition, psychic centers. So that was good. But as far as anything else, let's see. 14, 19. Well, yeah, not yet. There'll be a square to his midheaven at some point. Yeah, and that might be if he decides to run again. But we'll wait and see how things go, because this house, the sixth house, is so all-encompassing of day-to-day details in your life and your health and your service, work, all of that, that we're just going to have to wait. But it's not bad. You know what I mean? It's not bad. It's just that it's unique. It brings in things that are different, qualities that are different. It brings in ideas and ways to make things run more smoothly, because maybe you get tired of anything that's chaotic, and then you make the change. Uranus is definitely the planet of change. It is the planet of the Great Awakener. Yeah, so let me see, let me make sure I addressed everything with Saturn. Yeah, I went through the trines. That's Saturn trining his natal Saturn and Uranus over here. That's really good. This is excellent. Saturn trine Saturn is fantastic. Saturn trine Uranus is fantastic. Let's see. And then it's also trining up here to his natal, well, just because it's retrograded back. But Saturn has trined his natal Neptune, which is also really good for manifesting with spirit, manifesting mastery with source energy. That's great. Okay, anything else? Yeah, I spoke to this already. Mastery in his creative genius and in what he wants to nurture. I spoke to that, I think. Let's see. It's squaring this part of fortune over here, but I don't think he minds that. Yeah. But we did talk about Saturn. Well, it is definitely within an orb, squaring his moon, of course. And as it retrogrades back, it'll get even tighter with that orb. So he, this is that, that place where he's kind of hemmed in and he's not getting to get what he wants emotionally. He's not really even able to totally express what he wants, I imagine. Can you imagine the things he might really want to say? Oh, God. Okay, but yeah, and sometimes it can bring in little bouts of depression. Saturn close to the moon or in orb with the moon in a challenging way can bring in depression. So I think the best we can do is send him lots of love, of course, and support, and know that there's no perfect human being on the planet, and we need to cut him some slack. As far as his numbers rising, as far as this rebound after Afghanistan, because I know one of my awesome viewers, Lynn, hi Lynn, she wanted to know if his numbers would rebound after Afghanistan, and so I am going to say yes. It's going to take some time, but yes. There's just so much going on, There's so much going on. There's so much to pick apart when it comes to leadership nowadays. But if we could all just put ourselves in the place of, like, well, what if I had that job? How would that be for me? And imagine what a load of responsibility that he has. Saturn is responsibility, Pluto responsibility, in a very personal house of what you value, what matters to you most. He's really taking everything to heart, and he's doing his best. So, okay, so I think I'm going to close this up now, and like I said, I may do his solar return later, closer to his birthday, and we'll dive into that, and then we'll be able to see just what's going to happen for just that next year, from 2021 to his birthday in 2022. So, okay, So this will be revisited. But again, like I said, thanks so much for listening, and thanks for your comments, and comment away if you know anything about astrology, or you want to look some things up and you see something. I welcome welcome it. Okay, thanks you guys. Bye.